to the Buddy Book Club. Thanks for listening in. I'm Dylan, here with my swim buddy Keith to break down some bestsellers. Today, in honor of summer breaking out here on the East Coast, we're starting our beach read bonanza. And what a better way to kick this off than with Vince Flynn's novel, Transfer of Power. If you'd like to reach out to us regarding this book or any of his past or future episodes, you can visit our website, buddybookclub.com, or slide into our DMs on Twitter or Instagram, Buddy Book Club Podcast. You can listen to us on iTunes, so please download and subscribe. Keith, let's get to the content. This is your favorite book, right?
Harry Potter's my favorite series. This and Harry Potter are the only reasons I read books. Like I wasn't able to read when I was younger. I wasn't a very good reader. We're getting real. I mean, I've already told this story before, but like this is what made me be like, oh shit, it's just a movie if you can get into it. You know what I mean? Like it's a movie in your head.
I think that's a really good way of saying it, because I feel like with Harry Potter, it's similar in that as you're reading it, the visuals are there. And I don't know with this one specifically because there's been so much movie content around kind of covert ops stuff that you can kind of see those, you know, the MP5 in the gassy hallway with the laser scope going, you know, like you can see that in your head. Or if it's just the writing itself, because Vinny Flynn, he writes a phenomenal book. What else can you say? You know, like the narrative and the way he poses this, like sets up his individual scenes, you're immersed. You're just fully immersed.
For sure.
So tell us a little bit about Transfer of Power, though, because I know that it's a big book of yours, and normally I usually do the summary here, but I kind of want you to give a little background.
This is basically a group of terrorists try to take over the White House, and our boy Mitch Rapp, who is maybe the greatest character ever written in a book ever. I don't think there's anyone that's ever defeated him at this
Ian
point.
Fleming might have some issues with that, but okay.
I don't know who that is.
He wrote
the only reason.
James Bond books.
Okay, so you got to say the character's name. Come on, kid.
Oh,
Mitch
okay,
Rapp,
sure.
James Bond. Okay, I'll see James Bond. Yeah, I can give you that. They're comparative, if that's the word.
Comparable.
But James Bond has like 30 movies about him. That's what Mitch Rapp should have.
It's so sad. We'll get into that later.
But anyways, Mitch Rapp basically just dismantles the terrorist plan and saves the day. So, amazing book. They obviously made a couple of movies they ripped off of this, but the book is just phenomenal. Just a phenomenal. And it's the start to the series with Mitch Rapp.
How many times have you read this book?
This is my third time. So the first time I was super young. Second time was probably 10 years ago. So again, this is just a refresher, and every time it just hits. It's the same.
Yeah, so as you said, this book was published in 1999 by Vince Flynn, R.I.P. I didn't know he died, but he did. And he went on a tear. He wrote 4 books in 4 years. His first book was self-published, and then didn't involve Mitch Rapp. And then after that, he started writing books involving Mitch Rapp, which was Transfer of Power, The Third Option, and Separation of Power. He wrote those in 1999, 2000, 2001, and they were all bestsellers. Like, what a fucking run. Like, this is literally MJ's first run at the Bulls Championships. Like, without question. It was just phenomenal.
And to think of this as before terrorists, like at least 9/11, right? Like,
yeah, well, I think technically all 3 came out before 9/11. But yeah, before terrorism, I guess, was like the hippest thing.
Right.
As weird as that is. But so 4 and 4 years, the Mitch Rapp series. This is the one, like you said, that starts us off. It gives us our introduction to Mitch Rapp. There are other books that he wrote later that are kind of preludes to this whole story, but we're going to focus here on Transfer of Power. We may or mayn't get involved with the other ones in our near future. I mean, I read this book for the first time at your recommendation and loved it, continued on. I read The Third Option. Not sure I read Separation of Power, but either way, great book. Let's get into it. We like to start off with a little libation. I mean, this is, truthfully, we like to keep things pretty tight around here at the Buddy Book Club pod, and we don't like to go too long. All rules are out the window for this book. You know, I'm not holding back. All right. You know, it took 3 days for them to get back into the White House after Aziz took over. And this pod might go for 3 days. I don't know. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
So feel free to crack a libation of your choice. We like to pick something inspired from the book we're reading. In this book, there was a couple options, but really, let's cut to the chase here. It's Miller Lites. The book opens with the assault to kidnap Harut Rapp. and Harris, the commander of the team, they share a post-op Miller Lite after capturing Harut, which they're dirty. They've been up all night. They finally get back to the base. Everything went smoothly. They crack an ice cold Miller Lite. I just saw in my head when I read this part like a Miller Lite commercial. A beer commercial of like a bunch of covert op guys just dirty with some face paint on, cheersing to some ice cold brews. I respected the shit out of it. More importantly, though, after Mitch Rapp finishes his beer, he hits the shower, takes another beer with him. And I quote, "When he had finished washing the dirt and smell away, he stood under the hot water for another 5 minutes and savored a second Miller Lite." Oh, baby, are you kidding me?
I mean, we need a movie scene with that. Just imagine one of, a top actor looking, ugh. I mean, what?
I mean, I'm a big shower beer guy, but this takes stock up for shower beers. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but stock way up for shower beers. So I'm cracking a couple Miller Lites to Mitch Rapp and the crew. Good job, boys. I have a question before we get into character. Is there enough action in this book? Because when I think back on this book from the first time I read it, this is my second time, I was like, oh, this is an action-packed White House takeover, all this stuff. There's no action in this book whatsoever.
There's less than I remember, to be honest. I agree with that.
Is there not enough? Is there too little?
I think if they made it into a movie, it'd be much more Mitch Rapp killing all 10 terrorists versus you should have stayed in that room. But I also think you got to remember that when he wrote this book, I don't think he was like, oh, Mitch Rapp's going to be from now on my main dude, because the book prior, Mitch Rapp wasn't in it. He wrote a first book. So I think he was like, I'm going to introduce all these characters, and everyone's like, holy shit, Mitch Rapp's the fucking man. So then he made it much more centric, like killing everyone.
Yeah, I actually think it's pretty amazing how good and how much of a page turner this book is, considering most of what Mitch Rapp does is walk quietly around hallways and put surveillance cameras. Like, it's him putting surveillance cameras in different places. That's literally the book. But it's awesome. Let's talk about Mitch Rapp for a second, because obviously he's the best character, so we have to pick outside of him.
Right.
These are some things that were said about Mitch Rapp throughout the book, right? He's the most efficient and lethal killer in the modern era of the agency being the CIA.
Right.
He's an all-American lacrosse player at Syracuse. Now, for fun, his only other hobby is he runs Ironman competitions. No big deal. He works out 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, and doesn't feel like himself unless he does. He's got a scar from his ear to his jaw, which is some pink scar tissue, but it's naturally offset by his bronze skin. He's a man trained to act on his own. He's a man used to spending days, if not weeks, in the field without the aid of his country. He thrives in the environment where every decision could mean life or death. He's all man and then some, handsome and rugged, a real man. Maybe most impressively, he's able to shower, shave, and get dressed and make coffee all within 15 minutes. I don't know how that's possible. But, like you said, he's not the perfect man. He's got to have some flaws. What are his flaws? He drives a Volvo. Why does Mitch Rapp drive a Volvo? I literally have no idea.
All right, you're definitely jumping into a couple of my points there. But
okay. Well, we can talk about this later. But he drives a Volvo, and he hates dogs. Okay, so he's got flaws, right?
He hates dogs? I didn't pick up on that.
Technically, he hates guard dogs, but...
yeah, come on.
He doesn't like dogs. He said he doesn't like dogs.
No, I think that's libel slander, sir.
But, I mean, if your only flaws is that you drive a Volvo and you don't like dogs, like he's a cat guy and he drives a Volvo, it's like, whatever.
I had as my potent quotables. I'm going to use both of them because you basically covered them. But I basically said, why I'm not sure why there's a quote about D-Man in this book when he's mentioned that he's all man and then some. Nothing pretty about him. Handsome and rugged, a real man. I mean, that is a phenomenal quote. But the one you missed is another flaw of his, which is a really big one, is his only fault is he doesn't tolerate mistakes or stupidity. I mean, that's a tough fault to have, like, he's too hard of a worker. He gives to charity too much. He's a lot of faults, so it's no big deal.
When I read that part, I thought about like the interview question, like when they're like, oh, how do you attack an interview question when people say, oh, what are your weaknesses? It's like, exactly. Oh, I don't tolerate mistakes or stupidity.
It's the Michael Scott answer. It's a phenomenal. Yeah, it's perfect.
Oh, so good. So yeah, that's Mitch Rapp. I mean, besides him, who resonated with you from this book? Because we got a lot of characters.
I didn't count him because he's obviously, I already mentioned, he's the best character in any book, I think. I haven't read a James Bond book, but I'll stick to it. I liked two side characters. Milt Adams, loved him. Honestly, if I'm being serious, though, outside of the key and the blueprints, which Mitch could have just brought with him, they didn't really need him there. I just liked him. I like his demeanor. I like that he could bang out 50 push-ups on command, which I don't know sure why that proves that you're ready to go into a field.
It was 20 push-ups. It was 20
Whatever.
push-ups.
We round up. And the fact that he's carrying a 6-shooter that's not silenced.
I loved it.
And that he's allergic to dust, so he basically just gives away. The whole thing is they're trying to be sneaky, and he's like, I can't be sneaky, by the way.
And he's got to pee every 30 minutes.
Yeah, it just he had no reason. So I think the cast of the movie, he probably wouldn't be in it, but he could be a kind of a comedic Nick Cage almost to Sean Connery in the field, you know?
No way. No fucking way.
I liked him, though.
Milt Adams was one of mine as well. I mean,
I love it.
He does bang out those 20 push-ups without breathing heavy. Like he's an older man. I don't know how old he's supposed to be. I think he's in like his 80s or something, or 70s or 80s. But I mean, let's be serious. 20 push-ups without, changing your heart rate there, that's pretty savage. And he also includes that he does 100 push-ups and 200 sit-ups every morning and then walks 5 miles. So, he's pretty savage. He served in Iwo Jima. I love that he carries a .38 special. Why? They allowed him to go in there with a hand cannon. It's like in a covert operation, but because the weight feels good in his hands, it's like, all right, cool. You do you, bro. But I will push back on you a little bit because the blueprints were super important. All right. They went over the blueprints a lot. Without Milt Adams, Mitch Rapp would have been blind.
Well, like, couldn't he just been in the Situation Room when he was, you know what I mean? Like, there wasn't a really big need. Like, he rolls out the blueprints, like, what do you think, Milt? And Milt's like, I don't know. And then he's like, oh, how about this vent? It's like, you couldn't do that anywhere else?
No, he definitely could have been in the Situation Room.
Yeah, and couldn't be another Navy SEAL there, like, ready to help him?
Right? Milt did carry the camera for him, like, that was important. But I think we should step on it now. The key. Who is allowing some man to carry this key that can get you into any door in the White House? It's like a key from Ocarina of Time. Link can just get into any temple with this key. Why would this key be created and some civilian just has it? It makes no sense to me.
He's not stepping on it. He won an Iwo Jima, kid. He's allowed to have it, all right? They couldn't take it from him. That's the difference. You think that he's giving it back? No.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the protocol was when they closed up shop afterwards. Like, all right, we're all done. So you handed in the blueprints? Maybe not. What about that universal key that gets you into anywhere in the White House? Oh, I gave that to Glenn. Oh, Glenn has it? Yeah, he totally has it. No problem. All right, see you later. Like, what? That part made no sense to me. But either way,
let's move past that quickly.
Milt Adams, savage. Who else you got?
Stansfield, he's just Dumbledore. If you listen to the audiobook, the voice he has is Dumbledore's voice. He's just like I kind of know everything. I'm relaxed. I'm calm. I have a cool head. Like, I play everything straight face. I can't be read. And I'm the smartest guy in the room at all times. I love Stansfield. Loves him.
Wow, it's funny you say that because that's literally the only other person I had was director Stansfield.
Wow, we're both on the same page.
Yeah,
let's go.
Yeah. Calm, cool demeanor. What else do you need?
Yeah,
he
exactly.
knows it all. He sees all the pieces. You know what I mean? He sees the whole board. So I appreciated that. Before we get into some scenes, there's some pretty awesome names in this book, right? So Mitch Rapp itself just
great name.
Slaps. It's great. I think my favorite name of all time for this kind of character is from Shooter, Bob Lee Swagger. That's
a great name.
A phenomenal name. So I'm wondering if any of these beat it out for you. So we have Mitch Rapp, like I said. Dallas King, pretty good name. Sounds like a heel in the WWE or something like that.
He ended up being that. Yep.
True. Skip McMahon, not bad. Stone Alexander, for an ABC correspondent, Pretty good. Hey, this is
That's-
Stone Alexander checking in.
That's probably why I think I know the person, because I'm like, oh yeah, Stone Alexander, of course. Yeah.
And he was briefly mentioned. We got Sid Slater, aka the Jewish Terror, who's the commander of the HRT. Pretty good. Sid
I mean,
Slater.
you could make a book series about him. Like, that's phenomenal right there.
The
Yeah.
Jewish Terror. And then when it comes to nicknames or monikers, the Thief of Baghdad, pretty good nickname for a terrorist there. And then I'm going to finish up with my favorite, Mick Reeves.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that hits.
That's it. Mick Reeves.
They're all great. I didn't realize how good those were. That's a good call out.
Yeah, I was just like, wow. If Vinny Flynn can write, not only can he write good novels, but he comes up with some really good names.
Yeah.
Phenomenal names. If he was still alive, I would send him some fan mail and ask him to name my first child. Favorite scene, let's get into it. Oh, God. There's obviously, it's tough to peel towards the action sequences because there's only a few of them. But did you have something that was outside of the action sequence box?
No, I mean, there's one scene that, it's just like a scene that always stuck out to me, him stopping the whole rape thing, where everyone's like, don't do it because you're going to give away. He's like, I don't give a fuck. I'll go against what everyone else is saying, and I'm not going to listen to your orders because someone that's innocent might get hurt. I fucking love that. That every time, that gives me goosebumps. I remember that scene. I don't remember anything else about the book, really. That's the only scene I remember. So that's easily number one for me. I don't know if you count that as an action scene, but I thought that was amazing.
There's no better way to murder someone than shoving the knife under their chin.
Yep.
That goes straight up into their brain. It's really the best. And after this book reading, I did go and watch Olympus Has Fallen, which was unfortunate. We'll get more into that later. But he did do the knife through the chin into the brain, and I really respected that. So, you know what? I'm with you on that scene, though. Him throwing the book out the window, taking his headset off and going, no, I will not stand for this.
Exactly.
Okay. My favorite was the opening sequence. And I thought if this was a movie, this opening sequence would be so sick because it's them capturing Harut and Mitch is, dressed up as the old man limping through the alleyways. But just like how you see it big picture with all the teams getting put into place and the communication, and it's not just kind of Mitch doing a Mitch thing. It's really like the snipers, 500 yards away, taking people out, the other team coming in. That was awesome. Like just that whole thing, especially now after the whole taking down bin Laden stuff. And you've seen that video as well as the movie
Zero Dark 30.
There we go. Which was an awesome movie. And that whole idea of this is how these operators get into these spaces and do stuff. That was kind of the first time that we saw it, I feel like, as a civilian populace of we're getting full view footage of this shit going down. It was like, holy smokes, like these guys are on a whole nother level. And to read it in this book, I could see it, I could see it in my head. It was awesome. So cool. And then afterwards, obviously, Sharon Miller Lite's like, bras. America.
I did actually have one more scene that wasn't an action scene now that I think about it.
Oh, okay.
When Mitch Rapp is in the meeting and with all the politicians, and he has this quote, which I think was great, that I thought a million times in a meeting, this can't be happening. Please tell me this isn't happening. This woman or man has no fucking idea what she's talking about or he's talking about. That happens 95% of meetings where you're just like, God damn it, can these people just shut the fuck up and get out of here? They don't know what they're talking about. But he goes up to the front of the meeting and just shits on everyone. I was like, that's my fantasy.
I appreciate how you said woman or man because obviously he was talking about a woman. And
it can apply to anyone.
That.
Yeah, it can apply to anyone. It can apply to anyone, kid.
Let's get into some stock down. Definitely my favorite segment here. What stocks we buying? What stocks we selling? Let's start with stock up. What do you got?
Going to a war with Iraq, stock up. I know a lot of people criticize us going to war with Iraq, but did anyone read this book? Fucking Saddam Hussein helped fund the terrorist attack on the White House. Like, can we lead with that? Like, what's going on here? Everyone talks about no nuclear bombs or any weapons of destruction over there. Like, who cares? This dude funded this terrorist attack. Yeah, are you with me?
He funded a fictional terrorist attack. We should totally have sent all of our boys out there.
Right.
I
mean, why didn't people lead with that? I didn't even realize that happened. But stock up for going to North Iraq.
Yeah, especially considering like now we're pulling bodies out of those areas, and after George Bush's what did he say? Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Stock was way down, so I appreciate that you're buying that stock because the stock is definitely short. Yeah. I mean, I obviously had. This is the last time I'll say it, but until they sponsor us, I had the Miller Lights in there. Like, come on, is there product placement at this point? Like,
oh, that was one of mine. Stock ups.
But like, I'm not sure between the Volvos and the Miller Lights. Obviously, like, all the weapons aren't being sponsored because he goes into detail about those. But for like popular brands, was his second book like is Miller Lite sending him a few cases or something? Right? Like, what's the deal?
I was gonna ask that. Do you think there is product placement in book? Like, because honestly, I was like, yo, I need to go pick up some Miller Lights and drive a Volvo now. Because I also he gave them this Volvo, like amazing, like traction and like sporty. I'm like, Volvo? All right, I guess I gotta go buy a Volvo now. Like, there has to be product placement, right, in books?
There's definitely product placement in books, but it just seems kind of weird to me for his like first national. I mean, his other one was a national bestseller, but it was self-published. So like his first book is Volvo and Miller Lite like gonna get involved in this. Is NBev gonna be like, we need to support this book? I don't know, but either way, if they didn't, then they got some great free advertising, and I hope that they at least sent him like lifetime supply of Miller Lite. But outside of the Miller Lights for stock up, I'm going with situation rooms in general, or sit rooms, because of course time is of the essence, so you can't say the whole situation, you have to say sit room. But is there ever a time where you're watching a movie or reading a book that some shit goes down in a situation room that you're not fully invested in? And that's a lot of this book. Granted, it's not done in the White House situation room where Aziz is kicking his feet up and just watching the news. But, you get all these, all the brass in one room, and they're shooting ideas around. People have short fuses. Like, it's a lot of non-action action. And I know situation rooms are actually, the stock's probably pretty high, especially after the Obama picture came out where he was watching the whole thing. Granted, that wasn't the situation room, I don't think. But just sit rooms in general, like if I'm watching an episode of The West Wing and they're like, Mr. President, we need you in the situation room, it's like, oh, this is going to be sick. So I'm all in on situation rooms.
Yeah, I think the best to do it is Michael Bay and his movies, like Armageddon, The Rock.
With the like the green glow of the screens like showing on the actors' faces and stuff.
He always is moving the camera left to right or right to left in all scenes. There's no like still frame shots for when he does it, which is
Michael Bay.
Once you see it once, you're like, oh, yeah, every time. So it makes it seem like there's action going on because the camera's always moving.
Okay, quickly before we get into your next stock up, favorite Michael Bay movie?
The Rock.
Oh, The Rock.
Yeah, easily. Yeah.
Okay. Not Bad Boys.
Bad Boys 2, did he do? Yeah, Bad Boys 2 is a great action movie. In theaters, really that was one of the best. But The Rock is a top 50 movie for me. So
yeah,
that goes
okay. Pearl Harbor, good movie or bad movie?
I like Pearl Harbor. I might have to rewatch it though. I know people hate it.
I respect that, but I like it too. Actually, you know what? Right. I love it. I love Pearl Harbor. Yeah, I think that they put way too much of the love triangle stuff in there. I don't know why.
I also love what's her name? Like that. What's the?
Oh yeah.
Like I understand why that happens.
Kate Beckinsale.
I understood why that was a love triangle. I had no issues with that. That should be the movie, right? When she came to the picture,
my boy went down. Yeah, if my boy went down, I'd be like, hell yeah, I'm tapping that ass. What else do you have for stock up?
Tangos. I'm a big fan of the word tango. Tango.
We got 11 tangos in the building.
Yeah, the dance to tango, which I've never done, but I'm now interested. Tango mandarin, which are basically oranges / tangerines. They're seedless, and my biggest pet peeve is seeds and fruit.
Yeah, for sure.
So those are great. And honestly, I've been looking for a word to call fuckboys, not as mean, and that's not derogatory. and just being like, look at this fucking tango over here, you know? Like, that's a good word. I'm going to start using it. It's super succinct. And it hits like the consonant cards, which is important, right?
Oh
like,
my God.
Tango. Like, it just hits, you know?
It's so, dude, that's really true. I'm with you. I'm with you.
It just means like, bad guy, you know, which is great.
Just like your may or mayn't, I'm all in on tango, and I will be using it. Like, it's like, oh, like you don't know how to shoot hoops. It's like, no, there's a couple tangos on the court, you know.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, all right, I'm in.
Perfect.
Next for me, for stock up, torture.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So they go hard on Harut. They go real hard in the paint on the torture vibes with Harut. Mm-hmm. You know, torture hasn't been cool since Abu Ghraib, unfortunately. So, you know, we have to bring that torture stock back up, and I think they did a good job here because they show how impactful torture is at actually getting information out of people. So Harut not only gives up, you know, the amount of people in the house, in the White House, he gives up the fact that they got this thief of Baghdad, which brought the whole thing into the reason why, you know, they had to move and get the president. Without him, they wouldn't have known that. And then most importantly, he gives them where Aziz ends up that allows Mitch Rapp to go and finish the job. So without torture, they wouldn't have had any of that. And they torture the shit out of him. They basically say like his brain was turned. They're like, is he a vegetable? Yeah. And it's like, pretty much, sir. And it's like, just chill. So torture, it works. I'm in. Stock up.
No, 100%. But actually, on the other shoe, if you will, I had stock down, just to go right into that real quick. Being a torture expert, it's not the best job. Really thankless, huh? So to your point, they literally find out everything about this terrorist attack within like 8 hours of capturing this dude. And the woman, they're like, oh, I'd hate to have her job, the worst job ever. And then they just shit on her for the next like half of the book, being like, you didn't ask him how he's going to leave? What are you, an idiot? Do we need to go in there and babysit you and tell you how to torture this person, right? It seems pretty tough to fuck with someone's brain and then also extract all this information and then not one thank you for it. Yeah. I don't know. They're a little hard on her.
To be fair, though, I think the stock is already pretty down on torture experts. Like, you know, you watch the old you know, Dark Ages movies and stuff like that. You're watching you know, Prince of Thieves, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves with Kevin Costner. The people that do the torture, they're always like gross. And, you know, they don't really have a lot going for them in society. They got to wear hoods, you know. Any job you have to wear a hood, it's hot. It's hot under a hood, you know. It's not a good gig. So
yeah, it's very thankless.
It is a thankless
just really
job.
What it is.
Yeah, that's true. Imagine at a dinner party, what do you do for work? It's like, oh, you know, I'm a torture expert.
It's just like, Jesus. It's like, you want me on that line. You need me. You know, like we need torture experts out there. So.
Yeah, exactly. We got to appreciate the people behind the curtain. All right, well, let's stick with stock up. Did you have anything else before we got into the stock down?
The only one was the product placement in books, which I think should happen more often. Quick story too is like butterbeer. I went to the Harry Potter world, and they're selling butterbeer, which is just like cream soda for $8. But you had to buy it, right? Like that is such a good product placement in the book in Harry Potter that it's money. So if Mitch Rapp wants something, I want it. Yeah. You know? So a big opportunity in marketing.
I always thought butterbeer was literally like warm beer with melted butter in it. So yeah, it never really appealed to me. And throughout the Harry Potter series, I thought like wizards could have probably figured out a better drink.
Right. Also, Harry Potter tidbit, but remember like they're drinking it when they're like 10 years old, and then they're 17, they're drinking it, and they're like, well, the effects of butterbeer might make us do something interesting tonight. It's like, wait, what?
I never picked that up. Yeah, I never picked up that there was like some alcoholic connotation to it.
Yeah, which I didn't either. And maybe they like add it when they get older. I don't know.
Oh yeah, maybe they put a little spell on it, just be like ABV 5, right. Boom.
Nice. All right, we've mentioned Harry Potter like 3 times so far, and Nick Cage. Yeah, so we're good there.
For other stock ups I had, I mean, the U.S. military, specifically the U.S. Special Operations Forces, whether it be, you know, the Army Rangers or the Navy SEALs, like, come on. Why invest in any of these commercials they put in? I mean, I think they invest something, the military in general invests something like $6 million a year. Maybe it's more. Just in the NFL in terms of like putting people in the stadium, like when you have like veterans coming home and stuff. Obviously those are good things, but they spend money. Like it's actually advertising for the military. No. Just read this book. Just tell everyone, read Transfer of Power and you will join the military. It's guaranteed. Like I looked up to see if, I'd be washed out. There's no way I could possibly make it, but I just looked up to be like, how old do you have to be to like go into the military?
Yeah.
Like could I be a Navy SEAL at my ages of 33 years old? Is that possible? Like it turns out it's not really, but it made me want to. All these
you thought about it. Yeah,
I wanted to be a real man, a man's man, rugged.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I told you when I was 12, I was like, all right, I'm going to the army now after this book because it sounds so sick. Also in this book, if you're like a pretty boy, like anyone that's pretty and not rugged is like the worst person. They're just like conniving, like worst piece of shit ever out there. So
don't have like brain cells that like question authority. That's a bad thing.
Well, that's not true. I mean, Mitch Rapp questions authority.
Okay, to some degree. But yes, in general though, the idea of like, chain of command, very important, which is why I would always be flushed out of the military. My last stock up was push-ups and sit-ups. There's a big craze going on in the last 20 years or so, whether it be, people working out on the Esplanade with an instructor or CrossFit or getting into a gym and doing Pelotons, whatever the case is to stay fit and keep that body tight. It costs a lot of money. And this book, we're talking about some of the hardest motherfuckers in the universe. And every single one of them, when they talk about their workout regimen, it's like, I do push-ups and sit-ups, and that's how I stay hard. Like Jack Warch, the Secret Service agent in charge of the president, he does 400 crunches every day except Sunday, because of Jesus. And then on alternating days, he throws in 200 push-ups. That's how he stays hard. Oh, Milt Adams, he's a 85-year-old man. What does he do? He does push-ups and crunches. No big deal. Push-ups and sit-ups. No big deal. Whatever. Fuck you. All these guys, old school workouts. Drop the fucking heavy weights. Don't go to your silly little bike that costs $5,000 a year and you got to also buy this membership with some person on a video screen telling you can do it. No, get your ass on the floor and lift your own body weight 1,000 times and tell me you don't fucking feel it. It's as simple as that. All right. Although science has kind of said that the whole crunches / sit-ups thing is probably not great for your back, and planks are probably a better exercise. But I'm not going to tell these.
Stop being a pretty boy.
I'm not going to tell these guys. Fight through the pain, fight through the herniated discs. It doesn't fucking matter. Stay hard, boy. I love it. David Goggins, where you at, son?
I was just going to bring that up. Have you ever done a David Goggins workout?
No, I'm not a psychopath.
Oh my God. Yeah, I didn't know what that was about. And the beginning of the pandemic, people were like, oh, just do these with us. It's like, okay, we're going to start off with jumping jacks. And I'm like, jumping jacks? You kidding me? You just do 20 minutes of jumping jacks, which by minute 3, your calves are literally on fire. You can't do another jumping jack. And he's like, stop being a pussy. And he just does 15 more minutes of it. Holy shit. And then the next thing is like, all right, now we're doing squats for literally 10 more minutes.
David Goggins is if I don't feel like working out or something like that, I'll just go to his Instagram channel and watch 2 of his Instagram videos, just quick 30 seconds, and just him telling me to stay hard. And I'm like, okay, I'll work out.
Doesn't that depress you? He's so superior that I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, well, until you see his feet, and then you're like, oh, okay, I don't want my feet to look like that. So I'm never going to work out that hard in my life. Are you kidding me? David Goggins, we love you. You're a fucking animal. Let's get into stock down. I know you already gave one of yours, but what else you got?
Counting chickens before they hatch. Big time stock down. Yeah. So Anna and Mitch get in that feud after he saves her about what she can publicize. We're still in a room in the White House that's locked down by 10 terrorists with bombs all strapped around it. Can we talk about the book stuff after we get out and alive? Talk about counting the chickens before they hatch. Let's survive this thing first before we start planning the book rights and shit.
She was very concerned about her story, considering they were in the midst of an assault and she was living in a closet. It was it was a bit odd. Like, what can I release or what can I not? But I also thought it was a bit odd for Mitch to be like super concerned about like what she hears, considering that like she may die and then this will be a moot point and then you won't have to worry about it. But maybe Mitch is like, I'm never going to die. No one near me is ever going to die. I'm an absolute savage. So,
well, that's true.
But yeah, I'm with you on that point. I had politicians, specifically left-leaning politicians or intellectuals in general. just not a good look for those people. I mean, they open up with the whole pay to play in terms of the whole thing gets started because Aziz gets into the White House with basically a donation to the Democratic Party, which somehow like skips him all sorts of lines that he doesn't need to get through. Vice President Baxter, or excuse me, Sherman Baxter III. They mentioned that he's heir to one of California's finest family wineries. So California, he's obviously Democrat because Hayes is a Democrat, but California specifically, you know, they're just shoving it to the lefties right there. Actually, this one was interesting. Dallas King refers to President Hayes as quote unquote the simp. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the nomenclature of the day, but a simp is like what all the kids are calling their friends that like are nice to their girlfriends. They're calling them simps. So I don't know if you're familiar with that phrase, are you?
I'm not. Yeah, I don't really like cuck, simp, all those things that everyone just uses that doesn't mean anything to me. I don't care for it. I don't jump on those trains.
No, it's easy. I mean, that's kind of what our society's.
I say tango. These fucking tangos out here.
It's pretty much like what our society's come down to is just like use dumb words that don't mean anything to like express your feelings.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was kind of funny that like now it's so hip and like he's referring to President Hayes as a simp, which is like, oh, okay.
He's way ahead of times, like we said.
Yeah, but let's get back to this politicians and intellectuals talk down. Skip McMahon, who's at the top of his game, is noted that he's one of the few people in the bureau without an accounting or law degree. So like, good for you. Don't get a higher education. That's, you know, you're way better if you just like don't and just stick with your guns. There's a quick line saying how Saddam plays the weak UN and the political left like a drum. It's just like if you're reading between the lines, which we like to do here.
Let me defend Vince Flynn, aka Mitch Rapp, a little bit. I think things weren't nearly as divisive, or what's the word?
Divided. You can say divided, but divisive.
Divisive, whatever. Back when this book was written, like when I read it back then, it didn't even register as any sort of political. I think he also criticizes both sides in terms of politics and media. He just like both these things suck. They get in the way. I think his real only strong stance is that the military should be supported more and we should trust military experts more. That's it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I totally agree that politicians in general, at least in my personal opinion, are probably all sociopaths to some degree. And
no debate here.
I'm with him on all those points about like all these politicians trying to advance their own careers. But it did seem like there was a lot of lefty hate, which is fine. You know, it's his book. He can do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
But definitely stock down. Definitely stock down for the Democratic Party after all the stuff that they go through in this one. Did you have any other stock down?
Two more. Asking your coworker on a date 15 minutes into the job. Stock down. I don't know if this guy's ever heard of Me Too.
The way you said that, reminded me of like the internship when he's like having a beer with your boss. So sorry, it was what was your stock down?
Yeah, so Anna Riley gets asked out by that coworker within literally 15 minutes of stepping into the job. Creepy. And this guy not heard of Me Too before? Like, you gotta pump the brakes there, dude. Just relax, pull up. Also, he's a pretty boy.
That was Stone Alexander, wasn't it?
Yeah, Stone. Come on, bud. Come on, bud. Reel it back a little bit. We wait 30 minutes here at the.
We wait 30 minutes before sexual harassment because it's literally what he did to it.
Exactly.
I'm with you there. I got stock down the Secret Service. Not a good look for the Secret Service in general. They open up by explaining that the Secret Service is 5,000 agents, the majority of which focus their attention on catching counterfeiters. Like, I mean, that's not great. You know, when we think of the Secret Service, we're thinking about the guys running in the motorcade with the wrist mics and the sunglasses. You know, those guys. Like, oh wow, badass. Like, no, actually, just so you guys know, that's actually a small percent. Everyone else just focuses on the plot of Lethal Weapon 4. You know, looking at counterfeit money. Not interesting. They also say the Secret Service is comprised of a paranoid group of people who, although well-meaning, they have inflated sense of self-importance. Not good. And then additionally, not only it's really them who lets Aziz into the White House. You know, you can blame the staff, but hey guys, you're the last line of defense, you know, so it's on you. So you can blame the staff, but that's on you. And then on top of that, they allow the truck into the tunnel. It's a truck. It could have anything in it. They don't inspect it because like him and the truck driver, like the Secret Service agent and the truck driver, like go out and have a beer every now and then. No.
No, they let them into a side area.
Well, it's the Treasury building, but it's still a protected
that shouldn't
area.
access. But the whole thing was it shouldn't access the White House. There's that secret tunnel they have.
Well, if it shouldn't access the White House, then why is the Secret Service manning the booth?
This is correct. Well, they're protecting other people within the Treasury building.
Fair enough, but hey, Secret Service, whatever building you're protecting, you didn't protect it. Stop down. I'm selling. I'm out.
Fair. That's fair. My last one was the anti-Bill Belichick method.
Pardon me?
Stock down. It's a double negative. Don't worry about that. So Hayes at the end of the book is like, Anna, I'm going to hook you up with all this inside access, media access, inside scoops, all this shit. Let her write a book, and then we shouldn't be divulging company secrets to her. This is not Bill Belichick. You're not doing any favors for us. You know what my thought on the media, D-Man, and Bill Belichick's thought, and me and him are very alike. I like mushrooms, feed him shit, and keep him in the DAC.
That's your Boston accent after growing up outside of Boston?
Can I try it one more time?
Sounded like JFK.
Whoa, that's a huge compliment. What do you mean?
But not in a good way, like a bad JFK.
All right. Well, I know you have a good accent. One more time. Feed him shit and keep him in the DAC.
Yeah.
But now you go.
No, that's
now
good.
You go.
No, I'm not challenging you on this.
You go.
No.
You can't say I have a shitty one and then not do it.
I'm not gonna do that.
You also had the number one accent the last time we did accents. So you gotta go.
I'm not gonna put that stake on the line with this one. But what I will say.
Oh my God, you're a coward. You're a pretty boy coward, you know that?
I'm all
Fucking
man.
Tango.
I'm all man.
Fucking Tango.
What I will say to your point was that, and this I was going to bring up later, but I'm going to bring it up now because you brought it up. So she has a story that she has compiled. It's her story, you know, and that's what she wants to tell. This is the makings of a national bestseller. It's going to get her on every single talk show out there. Yeah. It's going to put her name in the record books. You know, she's going to be moving up the ranks. She might be on NBC Nightly News after this. And instead, she uses that leverage to get the scoop that Aziz managed to escape the White House like 30 minutes before everyone else does. So she gets to break one story earlier than other people do. That's going to be a huge story anyways, and it's going to get flooded out by all the other news agencies that do it 30 minutes later. But she gives up her book deal pretty much for this one scoop that's going to get her a little bit ahead of the line and like maybe a one-on-one with the president down the road. Like, negotiation skills, not great. Not great at all.
I thought she was giving up the, hey, we look over your shoulder. Like she was like, I'm going to write whatever I want to write. And they're like, nah, you're going to let us double check that stuff, but we'll give you all this other stuff instead. I still think she's writing the book. It's just names are taken out. Some of the other additional stuff is now no longer. Like they just basically get to do it. That's what I thought.
Well,
I assumed you wouldn't trade that out.
Yeah, because it was like she asked, like, all right, so what things are you gonna look at? And they were like, well, and then President Hayes steps in and he's like, well, how about this? Instead, I'm gonna give you this scoop. And she was like, that sounds great, Mr.
trade.
President.
Yeah.
Goodbye. I am a subservient woman, which is what this book says. Like, that's not me talking, but
oh, man, I'm clipping that.
Oh, you're gonna have to clip a lot later then, because I'm gonna be on. I'm fighting for women later on in this. let's jump into love hate. Wow, there's so much to love about this book. I don't even know how to pare it down. I'm going to start with you so I can get my brain in order. What did you love about this one?
I think the biggest thing for me is this is a can't wait to get in the car book. So obviously I listen to the audiobook, and typically I don't like driving that much. I'm not someone that just like,
Well,
like
you should
to
get a
cruise
Volvo.
around.
Then you would.
Yeah, that is the difference. I need a Volvo. That's really comes down to it. But this is one of those books that I'm like, oh, nice. Like, I'm ready. Like, I want to drive 15 minutes to go to the grocery store because I get to listen to Vince Flynn. I think Ready Player One was one of the first, like, audiobooks I really got into like that. And then this book is right up there with it. Again, amazing pace. We already talked about that. I love the gun descriptions. I love everything about the military stuff. It really makes me, like, brings me back to when I was 12 and wanting to be in the military. This happens more frequent than in future books as well, but the mindset of being in the book when you're outside of the book. So looking around corners. And one thing in the future books Mitch Rapp always does is when he sits in a booth or in a room, he always has his back to to the walls.
Same.
So there's like no one can come behind him.
Yeah. Dude, when you're in a hotel, you always get the far bed in the hotel. It's as simple as that. Always get the far bed.
It's kind of like if you ever play GTA a bunch and then you go out and you're like thinking about running people over. It's like that, but
yeah,
but more like I'm an assassin now. So.
I consider these type of audiobooks. I read this book. I didn't listen to the audiobook. I'm kind of excited because now I'm just itching for more Mitch Rapp to like read the third option, whether or not we do it on the pod. I'm going to read it, but it's what I like to call a drive by your house book. It's one of those books that you're so interested in that even if you're...
That's a catchier phrase than can't wait to get in the car book.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like yours.
So it's like if you're in a place that's like you're coming back home and you're in the middle of a chapter, it's like, nah, I'm going to drive around the block, just one time so I can finish this out. It's so good.
How about sit in the car while the engine's running in the garage, potentially commit suicide type book? Is that good?
Sit in the car while the engine's running, put a hose in the exhaust pipe and put it into your window kind of book.
Yeah. No, but I do that sometimes and I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't be sitting in here like this.
Those are a different type of book. Okay, love. Call signs, love. I need a call sign in my life. Obviously, Mitch Rapp says Iron Man because he runs Iron Man's, which there was a brief period in the early 2000s where they would like televise Iron Man's, like once it became like super hip and wasn't just in Runner's Magazine. Mitch Rapp would have been so pissed because now, like at that point, he couldn't run in Iron Man's anymore. He would have had to do like the Moab 250 or something like that. Another call sign. So the president always picks a name for himself to be called, like a call sign for himself for the Secret Service. And this President Hayes goes by Woody. His call sign's Woody. I don't know why he chose that. Do you know why he chose that?
A Democratic president, similar written around Bill Clinton time. I think I know. I think I know why.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I just thought that was weird that like out of all the names you'd go by, but Austin Powers, his side name is Richie Cunningham. So I'd be Richie. That would be my Mitch Cruz. Would be Richie Cunningham.
Okay, well, and I appreciate you saying Austin Powers since we hadn't covered that yet. So thank you.
But I don't have a call sign, and I did kind of try to think about it because call signs are big. Top Gun was a big one. Maverick, Iceman, Goose. Those are some good ones. Other stuff I loved about this, and we kind of danced around it, but the research that he did into it, it blows my mind that he came out with these 3 books in 4 years, considering how much. I mean, it's not research like an Eric Larson book or something like that, but it's research in the actual schematics of the White House, different like little things that happen, like little details. I'm thinking like the Roosevelt Room, for example. Like he talks about the Roosevelt Room just in passing and says like Theodore Roosevelt or Teddy Roosevelt's portrait hangs over the fireplace when a Republican is in office, and FDR's portrait hangs there when a Democrat's in office. And it's like, oh, like those are fun, especially me, A, liking history, and B, loving trivia. Like that's a super cool, interesting detail to involve that has nothing to do with the story. But I mean, portrait, it paints a picture and really helps you get into it. And that kind of ties into his way of doing this like brief but specific detail, and he does it with all the equipment they use. I'm just thinking of one of the things, like one example is he talks when they're doing the Harut raid, he talks about the helicopters that bring them in. He's like, oh, it's an MH-53J Pavlo. Yeah, it's $40 million and considered the most advanced military helicopter in the world. But that's all he says about it. You know, he doesn't like go into any more detail. He just says, oh, it's $40 million price tag and considered the most advanced military helicopter in the world. Drops the boys off, whatever, continues the story. But he does that with whether that be weapons or other equipment they're using. It's just this like really quick detail of what it is, but it doesn't like, he doesn't go on this whole thing, like take a paragraph to explain what's going on with it. It not only does a good job of like showing you what this equipment is without having to like look it up, especially this is like pre-real internet era, but I feel like it makes you visualize it better and also like gets you into the story more. I thought it was really well done. I love it. Vince Flynn, you're a fucking hero.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's the difference between, I tried to read Rainbow Six when I was the same age because I don't know if you played the video game, the original one, but I love that. It was like super in detail about MP5s and like SWAT team tactics and everything like that. And I tried to read the book. I got 200 pages. I think it's like 2,000 page book, and nothing had happened. It would be like he carried an MP5. Here's like the origins of them. It would just be like a history book for like
swamps
100 pages. Details. This takes me out of the story. Like I like to know it, but it's like, come on, let's go. You know, let's get it going.
Yeah, it's not necessarily like a hit. It's almost like opening up the instruction manual, like when you buy one of those things. You know, it's like, oh, I don't want to read this.
Like, yeah, exactly. I'm sure he knows all this stuff too, and he's like, let me put what I think is most important tidbit about this one thing, and then go on.
Yeah, and I get that people might be into that, but you know, I just think Vince Flynn has a really good way of doing it.
Yeah.
Let's got through the loves. We gotta hate. You know, the hate is real. We gotta throw some hate out there. Where there is yin, there is yang. What's the other side of the coin for you? What do you got that you hate?
So one thing is, I didn't understand why Aziz kept his secretary alive. So he escapes with the secretary as like the hostage, and then he like throws her in a ditch, and then she's like, "Yeah, the Aziz dude took me away and escaped." And they're like, "Oh, okay." I didn't realize he escaped. They've been looking for his body. It could have blown up in the blown up building. They had no idea he escaped, and he just murdered tons of innocent people without even thinking, like blinking an eye, and then he just left her alive to tell them that she was there. That didn't make any sense to me. Is there any reason why he wouldn't?
We found her in a ditch, and I was like, oh, cool. They found her body in a ditch. She was alive. I was like, wait, what? Why was she alive? Like he has no remorse for anyone. Why would he leave anyone alive to tell a tale? Like, who knows what detail she picked up? It made no sense to me. I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. It wasn't even a note that I had, but as it's towards the end of the book, and I finished it last night. So yeah, I was so confused. Yeah. This is a big one for me. Where is the concern for President Hayes throughout the first 60% of this book? He's in his bunker. They're like, oh, okay. They're like, the president made it to his bunker. And they're like, okay, cool. And then they just forget about him. Like, he's not he's not involved in this whatsoever. It's like, oh, Aziz fucked up. He left him in the bunker. Like, he let him go and he's in the bunker. Like, he's totally safe. That bunker can withstand anything. It's like, and then Rapp even says about Aziz, and I quote, "We know he's a meticulous planner. He thinks everything through from start to finish and prepares multiple contingencies in case things go wrong." So they know that he wanted to get the president immediately and it went wrong. So multiple contingencies, yeah, maybe. And then shortly thereafter, he says, and I quote again, "He knows without the president, he's not getting home." So you're saying that the president is literally the football. He needs the football. And he's like, you're just like, nah, president's still fine. And then even later when Irene Kennedy talks to the Mossad agent, and they're like, all right, we got these three guys. Like, one's a 19-year-old. The other one's this Iraqi who's, like, known into breaking into, like, impenetrable safes. But, like, it's probably not him. And she's like, yeah, you're right. It's probably not him. We don't have any impenetrable safes in the White House. It's probably this 19-year-old for cannon fodder. Like, Aziz just gets a person for cannon fodder. Like that's his thing. It's like, you don't think he has 11 guys. He like knew exactly what everyone's job was. No. There was no concern for the president. And then eventually they're like, oh my God, the president, he's going for the president. He's going to get him in like 2 hours. It's like, where the fuck have you guys been this whole time? Are you kidding me?
Well, we have the benefit of knowing this only happens, whatever, 3 days. We have the benefit of knowing that that's happening. The assumption is it's a brand new vault.
I mean, you could have had just a quick conversation, which is like the president's in the vault. It's like, okay, great. It's like, what are the chances that
Well, they said it's impenetrable, right? Everyone's like, all right,
Yeah.
we're good then.
I saw Die Hard with a Vengeance. They stole all the gold. You know, it happened. All right.
Well,
nothing is impenetrable.
Let's be honest with that. They needed apparently wouldn't have needed like 500 dump trucks to steal that amount of gold. So that's a little bit misleading, sir. Let's not take that at fact.
I'm taking it at fact.
Yeah,
Jeremy Irons,
the gold
phenomenal.
is too heavy, so they couldn't. There would be no way they could transport it. That little of dump trucks kid.
But either way, there was just not enough concern or talk about
That's
the
fair.
president whatsoever, or like opening a line of communication, anything. Especially when they finally brought up to Irene the fact that she didn't immediately go, "Oh my God, wait, what does this guy do?" They were just like, it's probably the 19-year-old. Let's move on. Yeah, so I hated that part. What else you got?
I already kind of brought it up, but I obviously didn't love the political stuff, or I just didn't remember it being this political. Obviously, I think things are much more political these days. So I think if you read this book back then, it's like, oh yeah, he has kind of a point of view that's X. It doesn't matter. It's not my point of view, but it's whatever. But now it's like, I can imagine this book being canceled. You know what I mean? Like people being like, oh, you read that book? How could you even read that? You know, which kind of sucks. He also hates the media, which I hate the media too, though. So cancels out.
Yeah, I think everyone hates the media, like, and they should, you know,
Yeah.
right? Like, we're talking about an organization that's pretty much run by like a very few amount of people. Like, everything is now a conglomerate of something else. It makes no sense. Like, so I'm with him on there, and I do agree though that the political aspect, you have to separate yourself from that. You know, I'm shitting on the fact that he shit on the Democrats and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you don't take that shit personally. Like it's a book, you know what I mean?
Right,
He's
right,
like,
right.
he's just, this is his point of view, and that's what he's going for. It's fun. Like, this book is meant to be
Oh yeah,
fun.
I have no issues with it. The only thing I'd be worried about is recommending to someone and then being like, oh, like, so you like this guy's politics? No, it's just a good book.
Yeah, that brings me to my next point and my next hate, and I have to do it. I have to, because
Here we
someone
go.
did ask me for a book recommendation, and this person happened to be a woman, and I was like, I'm fucking reading this book and it's phenomenal. But I was like, oh, if I suggested this to a woman, I think she would hate it, because I'm not really a huge fan of the way they characterize women in this book. Between Tutwiler, Valerie Jones, the president's chief of staff, Anna Riley, they just make women out to be these scared, shrill, weak creatures that are like subservient to men. And maybe that's just the way I read it, but Mitch Rapp, thinking of Tutwiler, the attorney general, with the scene that you talked about earlier, when he said this woman has no idea what the fuck she's talking about.
Yeah.
True. But like, did she need to be the one that they focused on in that situation? I don't know. And then Tutwiler, after the whole thing where, I don't know who gets shot, but the guy gets shot, the first hostage situation, she's obviously not in a position to really be in charge there. She's kind of forced to be based on the chain of command. And she has a totally reasonable breakdown. And one of the guys says, "This stupid bitch is in shock." It's like, yeah, well, some fucked up shit just went down. And yeah, like maybe she wasn't fully prepared. Like one of you guys should have stepped up. And then additionally, I don't know why they make Valerie Jones, the president's chief of staff, like a character in the bunker, but they make her out to be like shrill and incompetent. She's like, wait, why? I don't understand. Wait, why is that happening? It's like, oh my God, I have to explain to this chick why this is happening. I just explained it to her. It's like, what? Like, why did they have to make that character out to be like that? It made no sense. I mean, even Irene Kennedy, who is
don't go into
like,
Kennedy.
if you're going to use like, well, if you think he portrays women negatively, like look at Irene Kennedy, you know, she absolutely crushes it.
Yeah.
She gets assaulted. At one point, McMahon, and I quote, reached out and grabbed Kennedy's chin, forcing her to look him in the eye. No more games. I want the truth. Excuse me, don't fucking touch me, is what she should have said. But instead she was like, hey, you know, that we're not in a right communication standpoint or something like that. It's like, you don't just go out and grab people by the face and tell them to look you in the eye. It was like, pardon me? What? And now Anna Riley, you know, Mitch, after cleaning her up after the whole assault and whatnot, he cleans her up and he goes, I'd say we have a regular tough girl on our hands. Like, don't fucking talk down to me, bro. I just got assaulted. Like, yeah, I am a tough girl. Shut the fuck up. And then, you know, I'm kind of surprised he didn't pat her on the head afterwards. It was just like talking down to someone. Hold on. Later, Mitch says, you must be one tough chick. To which she replies, I have a lot of brothers. Like, assuming that a woman can't be tough unless she has a bunch of brothers in her family. Like, just being a woman in herself can't make her tough. It's ridiculous. I just didn't like the way that they made women weak creatures when there are lots of strong women out there. And I'm not talking South Park strong women. I'm talking real strong women. And it didn't stick right with me. It didn't stick right. I think if I suggested this book to a woman, she would have a very different outlook than we had. But Vinny, I still love you.
All right, it's fair. I mean, you make some good points. I let you have your say, but
you did.
Let's go also into the fact that the only person that, especially in the future books, that Mitch Rapp, who doesn't listen to generals, who doesn't listen to literally the highest person in the military. He just ignored their commands. The only person he respects and listens to is Irene Kennedy, right? So that's a woman that actually is supposed to be the smartest and most competent person in the book, pretty much. And it's the only person he listens to.
Level-headed, smart,
and he hates everyone else. He literally hates. There's no one he likes. And then and all the politicians, who are men, are also demonized as well. So I agree. You're right. But at the same time, you can't take it to the fact that, like, 90% of the men are shitty people, too.
I think that, that's true.
The two biggest characters, like, in the future books, right? The two biggest characters are Mitch and Irene.
Well, I would say that I think Vince Flynn, based on how much he hates women in this book, I think that he originally wrote his direct superior, the Irene Kennedy role, as a man. And then when he submitted it to his editor or publisher,
all right,
that's
enough.
Who were women?
That is enough.
Because women run publishing companies. Who were women? They gave him a Dr. Evil line, and they said, Vince, throw me a frickin' bone here.
Okay, so let me just make sure.
He changed Irene Kennedy to
so
woman.
So let me just get your argument down here. You think that he changed one character, but the editor, who is a woman, I guess, is not strong enough to tell him that all the other characters that you've made that are women are shitty? So you're just saying that the woman rolled over that in this instance, so you're the fucking sexist one. That's what I'm hearing.
No, she said, hey, I appreciate your intellectual property, but like maybe if we want one woman to read this book, we should probably have a woman in a strong role and not in a absolute meek and subservient role. And he goes, oh, okay, I'll give it to this one. And she said, thank you.
And future books, too, Irene Kennedy obviously deals with a shitload of sexism because she becomes, sorry, spoilers, but the head of the CIA. And she obviously has to deal with all like the pushback she gets from that. So I think he develops that better. This book, I'll probably agree with you a little bit on that. That's it, though. That's all I'll give you. That's all I'll give you.
I wanted a mile and you gave me an inch. I appreciate it. Cast the movie. So 2 movies were made that were, quote, based on this book. White House Down and Olympus Has Fallen. Neither one of these movies is this movie. I mean, Olympus Has Fallen, was a Secret Service agent. Nothing ties into it. Really nothing. I don't know why this movie hasn't got made. I tried to scour the internet and check it out. There's nothing there. It makes no sense. This seems like a perfect suspense thriller, you know? Take away all the boom, boom explosions all over the place, you know, the White House actually burning down. Like, let's make this a covert op thriller. It's so sad. But let's cast it. If we did,
Yep.
Mitch Rapp, our most important character.
Yeah. This is a big one. And Hollywood's listening, so this is a big one for me. I had a few that I was thinking of, and then I kind of whittled it down. So I was thinking of potentially John David Washington, Denzel's son from Tenet. I think he could fill the shoes. Michael B. Jordan, again, he just played the new movie on Amazon.
Ooh.
He plays.
Have you seen that movie?
No, I heard it got medium ratings, but he's good at he can play the drama actor.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And I want a gritty version of this movie. I don't want some fucking poppy star leading. Taylor Kitsch, who I love from Friday Night Lights, I think.
Taylor Kitsch?
Yeah, sorry. I think he's a little bit. I don't know how gritty he can get. That's the only reason I love him.
Well, he already did it. He already did it in Lone Survivor.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he wasn't bad in that, but again, I ultimately think you need a dude that looks like a military guy, that looks big, that can muscle up. Tom Hardy is who I went with. I think I know American accent's not probably the best on his, but he, I think, actually looks like a military person. He's got the physique, the drama look. He's hard. You know what I mean? And I'm hard. I mean, what?
Yeah. I don't hate it. Considering we don't have eras here and we're allowed to draft people from the past,
Okay.
I had a young Mel Gibson.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I think because if you were to make this movie, he's got the sex appeal for sure. He's got the look is basically the point. We're going short hair, Mel Gibson, but I just think that if you were to make this movie, there'd be a lot of scenes where he'd actually be like fighting a couple terrorists. You know what I mean? And you need his like he gets so into it, like the Patriot or Braveheart when he has those wide eyes that it's just like, oh my God, this guy would go through a fucking brick wall.
Yeah.
Like Mitch Rapp's a little fucking nuts, and that's what we need.
Okay.
And maybe I went with Mel Gibson because of my Milt Adams pick. And I picked Milt Adams first, but Milt Adams is set for like a present day Danny Glover. And not only, like you said, he should be like have like a little comedic side to him.
Yeah.
I thought Danny Glover did like pretty well with that in Lethal Weapon. But more importantly, I'm pretty sure Vince Flynn wrote this book with Danny Glover in mind. Or there was an homage because at the end of the book, when Mitch is like, "Oh, we'll do this again sometime" or something like that, Milt says, "I'm too old for this stuff," which is definitely a Danny Glover line from Lethal Weapon when he says, "I'm too old for this shit." So
makes sense. Yeah.
If I'm not picking the character, I let Vince pick the character, and Vince picked Danny Glover. So hey, I'm going with Vince.
I like that a lot. I didn't have one for Milt Adams. I just couldn't think of anyone that would be perfect for him. But Danny Glover, I think, makes sense. The only problem is in my dark, gritty movie, I don't even know if I want anyone that has comedic justice. You know what I mean?
Well, Danny Glover's not necessarily a comedy guy. Like he wasn't funny in Shooter.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. I almost would take him out of the movie, more the Mitch Rapp just leading everything, and then obviously Anna Riley would do more of the Milt Adams stuff.
I think if there was a real movie made, I don't think his character would be in there. Or he'd be in there for like when he goes into his basement and like, shows him the blueprints in his basement and they like break that stuff down. And then maybe after that, he's in the sit room. But like outside of that.
I mean, if Michael Bay did it, he might be in it. It'd be more of a Nick Cage feel, like I said. This one I think might be my best casting of all time. Stansfield.
Oh.
Morgan Freeman. I think it's just the smartest person in the room. Relaxed. Knowing everything. He's basically the CEO in Batman. He just plays that role again.
Interesting. Okay. Because he's like too quiet almost.
Well, that's what Stanfield is.
Yeah.
The thing is about Morgan Freeman is when you see him on screen, you instantly are like, this dude's the smartest person in the room. This dude just has that presence about him that everyone respects him right away, right?
You've seen The Wire, right?
Yeah.
My pick was Lance Reddick, who plays Lieutenant Daniels. Or Major Daniels at some point.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought he had that vibe of like, doesn't say a lot, but says a lot with his eyes.
Yep.
And like, you just have no idea where he stands. Like, is he with you? Is he against you? Is he trying to, he's just like so blank. Mm-hmm. And he's also like skinny, but imposing. It's weird. It's like, he's just such an enigma.
That's a really good one. I'll give you that. That's definitely good. For Kennedy, I wish we had a young Meryl Streep. What's her name? Streep. Okay, perfect. I just think she has like that same thing with Stanfield, like that calm, blank face. She can play that scary in the room without even saying anything. But obviously, if I'm casting today, I had to go someone different. She's a little too old for the role at this point. But I went Jessica Chastain, who's from Zero Dark 30. Same thing, commanding presence, doesn't really need to say a lot.
I didn't have someone for Irene Kennedy, but the only picture in my head was there's this, in I think it's a James Bond movie, there's this like Russian woman who has like a scar on her face, and she's super badass. But I can't remember what she's in. But if she wasn't Russian... No, it wasn't a lot of... Did you break wind before me? Didn't know it was your turn, baby. I don't know what her character is, but she had a vibe, so I don't know. I'm out on that.
And then lastly, for Anna, I had, probably because of the same name, but I love her, Anna de Armas from Knives Out.
Oh, dude. Stop. Stop it. Stop it right now.
Okay, I will.
I feel like a 12-year-old boy. She's my celebrity crush. You know what I mean? I'm a huge fan.
And she's, I feel like, perfect for the
role. She was dating Ben Affleck.
Yeah, good for him.
Crazy. Yeah, she's amazing. Oh, God. Yeah. I'm in.
My backup was Alicia Vikander, who's like in Ex Machina.
Oh, yeah, she's really good too.
I don't know why, but
those are good picks.
Yeah, I just thought Anna would have like a more of a foreign look. I don't know if that's the right word, but like exotic, I guess is the word.
Yeah, that's fair. I had Kate Mara, who I thought would be good. They also just explain Riley as she's like he says she's 105 pounds, which is like, honey, go get a fucking bite to eat.
I don't know women's weight, so yeah, I was like, okay, I guess that's
105 pounds is like super duper thin. Like,
I mean, I don't really respect that you're telling women what they should do and what they shouldn't do with their body, but that's just me. I mean, I'm for women's rights, not you aren't. So.
Well, I'm just saying, if it's like, he's like, she's a full-figured woman at 105 pounds, it's like, well, something's not right here. Something does. I think Vinny Flynn wasn't checking in right, because the 105 pounds, that's an emaciated person.
Fair.
But, yeah, so but basically I'm saying she has to be, the actress has to be smaller.
Yeah, she should go reprise her role from House of Cards, playing like a media person. And
yeah, there you go. Yeah. Boom.
Easy day.
Perfect. Don't get hit by a train. Did you have anyone else?
No, that was it for me.
President Hayes, Martin Sheen, done. Easy peasy. Sacagawea. I gotta say it. Would you recommend this book to our listeners and friends?
100%. Mitch Rapp all the way. Probably you're right. It's a very action, very guy-y book. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to like a lady if she wasn't into that.
No, I'm with you on that front. I mean, even like my dad who reads like history books, I was like, hey, I got this book. Like, you should read it. And then I'm like, oh. Truthfully, I don't want someone to not finish this if I ask them to read it, because my feelings toward them would be affected. That's why I didn't want to like really tell my dad, because like he likes to read, and I was like, oh, you should read this book. But I was like, I don't know if I want to share with him, because if he didn't get through it, I don't think I'd love my dad anymore.
That's stern, but it's also fair. It's very fair.
It's very fair. It's just like one of those like things that you love so much that when you share with someone, and if they don't love it, it hurts.
Yeah, no, I get that. To be like, this is a book I recommend. That's a big honor to bestow on something. And yeah, if they just reject it, it's an insult to you and your whole family.
And truthfully, nothing makes me feel better than when I recommend something to someone, no matter what it is, whether that be like a book, a movie, a recipe, a way to get from A to B. And they're like, oh, I took that shortcut and it worked. I'd be like, wow, you did that? Like, nothing makes me feel better as a human being than when those things happen. So, and the opposite side, nothing makes me feel worse than when they don't. Or someone's like, hey, watch this movie. Or if I'm like, hey, this movie's great. And I'm like, oh, did you watch it 6 months later? And they're like, no. It's like, it was 2 hours. Like, so what, do you hate me? You don't trust me? Like, what's the deal? You introduced me to this book originally. I'm glad I was able to reread it years later and, have a newfound love for Mitch Rapp and Vinny Flynn. I'm glad we did this pod. I feel like this whole thing was kind of created with this book in mind. And it's a milestone for us here at the Buddy Book Club. So
Book 10 in the books.
Whoa, this is book 10. What's next for us?
Next book is going to be Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. We found this book basically while looking for good beach reads that weren't necessarily romantic novels or murder mystery novels. So this one seems to be like psychological suspense. So I'm ready to jump in and just fucking get lost.
We're going all in. Dark Matter. It'll be the next episode. But until then, love you, ma.
Got him.
All right, take care, everyone.